Hello everyone, and welcome to week 3. This week we're going to learn about learning theories, models, and principles, what they are, why we need them, and a little bit about how we use them. Our goals for this course are, of course, to help broaden your knowledge base, to give you a chance to explore and practice guided inquiry, and of course, to grow as learning experience designers. Along the way, we hope to help you answer the question, what kind of school librarian do I want to be? There's a lot of diversity in our professional roles, and this course will provide you an authentic and relevant set of activities that help to build and strengthen your instructional capital. Your instructional capital is your wherewithal, your means or capabilities, and your influence or clout to be seen as a valued instructional leader and collaborative partner to the teachers you work with, in turn creating better learning experiences for the young people in your care. This is the definition of a true modern teacher librarian. But first, we need to learn a little bit more about these things that we're talking about. So let's start with some definitions. First, a theory. A theory is simply a hypothesis or a way of thinking to explain something or guide our thinking about the nature of a phenomenon or process. But why do we need theories? First, our theories, whether they are about instruction, evolution, relativity, or climate change, are all really just an attempt to explain why or how something happens. Theories attempt to answer questions. As educators, some knowledge of the theories that support our instructional design decisions improve our chances of success. If we know how learning happens, for example, then we can come up with ways to make it happen. In other words, ways to purposely design learning events. So when we talk about learning, what do we mean? Of course, learning is simply defined as a change in performance or performance potential that happens as a result of the learner's experiences and interactions with the world. Remember that although learning is happening purposely or intentionally in educational settings, it's happening all the time through our students' life experiences. And so our goal should be to try to seamlessly bring together the way that our students are learning from experience in the world with how they are learning in a school setting. Learning theory then describes why or how learning occurs, and usually theories touch upon 3 different elements, meaning what are the results, what changes we want to see, how does this happen, what processes bring it about, and what are the trigger inputs that are needed to make this learning take place. So in other words, learning theory can not only be descriptive of how it happens, but it can also prescribe how these related actions can lead to certain outcomes. So when we know learning theories, it helps us to sort of figure out what steps to take as educators. So let's talk about some examples of learning theories. We'll talk about an old one, a newer one, and a newest one. Behaviorism, of course, is an old one, also known as classical conditioning. And this is where it was believed that learning is really only measured by observable behaviors. And these behaviors come from the learner's stimuli in their environment, whether positive or negative. Behaviorism, though, of course, was long replaced by various cognitive theories, and eventually leading us in more recent years to theories of constructivism. And in constructivism, we look at the fact that learners are creating or constructing new knowledge and meaning from their experiences, like inquiry. That's why this semester we spend a lot of time creating inquiry experiences for our learners. And a more recent theory is connectivism. Connectivism theory is that learning happens within and across our digital networks. and that it's not just happening within an individual, but happening to many people simultaneously due to our social and cultural connections that we are making because we have technology. So connectivism and all of these other theories are waiting for you in the readings this week. So peruse through them and you'll get a good taste of how we've arrived at constructivism and connectivism. Instruction, of course, is anything that we do to purposely facilitate learning. And instructional design, then, is the process that we use to integrate learning and instructional theories so that we can come up with strategies, activities, and the resources we need to facilitate learning. Remember that all instructional design models have learning theories that underpin or support them. So simply put, you can think of instructional design as how instruction should be created to help learning happen. This is a simple statement that encompasses the ideas that our instructional and learning goals are being met and that we are actively doing something to make sure it happens. The word design implies that we are not just winging it. There is a definite plan afoot. So inquiry-based instruction, then, which is the central focus of this class, is instruction that is organized around interests of students so that they are encouraged to ask questions, and their learning actually comes about because they are focused on answering their own questions. We want these experiences of our students in our libraries to be transformational, not just transactional. In other words, in an inquiry experience, the learners should not just be delivering content back to their teacher. That's a transaction. But rather, they should be growing from the whole experience as they are constructing new knowledge. So we've talked about theories. Let's now talk about our definition of a model. A model is, as you know, just a conceptualization of a complex system, a theory, or a method, and they can be verbal, pictorial, or physical in nature. In this class, in another week, you will get to look at some inquiry models, and you will be doing a comparative analysis of these different inquiry models. So here are just 3 different representations of these models. An instructional design model, then, could be thought of as a visual or prescriptive guide for how to create learning events. And of course, these are representations of how we can put these events together. So you will learn about some other larger instructional design models later in the course, such as UBD, which you may have already heard of, or ADDIE, which is sort of a generic instructional design model that's used across various industries. And of course, we'll be looking strongly at those models for inquiry, like guided inquiry. Then our final definition that we need is a principle. A principle is a fundamental quality, rule, or belief. Principles are requirements, so to speak, of how to make something happen. They can be descriptive and prescriptive. Sometimes, though, you will hear people use terms like principles, theories, and models interchangeably, but you should understand that there are subtle differences between them as you are designing instruction. Later in this class, you will learn about principles, such as Merrill's first principles of instruction, which basically are 5 principles that talk about elements that need to be in place so that learning can happen. So how does all of this work together? Well, simply put, our knowledge of and practice of using things like learning theories and principles and models help to suggest to us the strategies that we can use to help learning happen, and then the activities that we could use to make those learning outcomes or objectives occur. This is the big picture of how these concepts fit together. So again, Our goal is that you will come away from this class with a systematic and explicit way to design and develop learning experiences, that you will be able to help students with knowledge construction, and that the learning that you help inspire is transferable learning, things that will take our students way beyond the walls of our classrooms and libraries. And again, with our goal that you are building instructional capital so that you become a highly sought after collaborative partner, instructor, and influencer in your school. Thank you, and I'll see you back in the course.